Hello and welcome to A-Level Math. In the first two videos of permutations, I have covered the theory as well as some numerical questions on permutations. So if you haven't seen the videos, please go and click on the I button above. And this topic and in this video, I have specifically took up many examples on permutations so that you can have a fine knowledge of both the theory as well as numerical questions. So we are going to take up lots and lots of numerical examples in here, so stay tuned. Okay, so I believe that you are already familiar with the concepts of factorials because you have already seen the first two parts. So it asks us to find out the value of x. It's quite simple. It's just the first question, so I don't want you to be scared with it. So let me write down the question first of all. Now to find out the value of x, let's take this 10 factorial to in here and multiply this with each and every term of the right hand side. So it gives us x is equal to 10 factorial times 1 by 8 factorial plus 10 factorial times 1 by 9 factorial. Now remember that 10 factorial can be written as 10 times 9 times 8 factorial, because 8 factorial consists everything from 8, 7, 6 up till 1. So I can write this 10 factorial as 10 times 9 times 8 factorial, and the reason why I am doing this will be known to you shortly. Plus, and this 10 factorial I'm going to write it down as 10 times 9 factorial, and then 1 by 9 factorial remains as it is. The advantage is that 8 factorial and 8 factorial over here and 9 factorial and 9 factorial over here gets cancelled out. So 10 times 9 is 90 plus 10 gives us 100. Okay, so this is the value of x. Next question. In here we have to find out the value of n. So let's get started. What do? We first of all bring this n minus 1 factorial down here. So I can write it down as n plus 2 factorial divided by n minus 1 factorial is equal to 60. And then using the same rule as before, we can write this n plus 2 factorial as n plus 2, then 1 less than this, then 2 less than this, and then 3 less than this, and that's it. Factorial divided by n minus 1 factorial. So the reason here is that this last bit is going to be the same exact thing as this one. So and then they will be getting cancelled out. So what we have is n plus 2 times n plus 1 times n minus 1 factorial divided by n minus 1 factorial is equal to 60, and these two terms over here are no more. And now we have to find out the value of n. Okay, there are two ways in which you can do this. First of all, you can multiply all these things and then you'll be getting a cubic expression. That means you'll be getting something like n cube plus something n square plus something n plus some constant might not be there. Okay, but that's not the easy way of doing it. The easy way is that if you observe that these three terms are consecutive. What I mean by consecutive is that they are something of the form 6, 7, 8 or 7, 8, 9 or 8, 9, 10. Why they are consecutive? Because this first term is n over here, this is n plus 1 and this is n plus 2. So if assume that if this n is 6, then n plus 1 is 7 and then n plus 2 becomes 8. So that is why we have these three terms to be consecutive. And now you just have to find out three numbers which are consecutive and whose product give you 60. So let's try with smaller numbers, like are 2, 3 and 4 satisfying this? So 2 times 3 times 4 is 2 times 3 is 6 times 4 is 24. So this is not equal to 60. So let's try with one more number like 3, 4 and 5. So what you get on multiplying these? 4 times 3 is 12 times 5 gives us 60. So this is the triplet that gives us the required value. So which one is the smallest over here? 3. And which one is the smallest over here? N, right? Because n plus 1 and n plus 2, out of all these three numbers, n is the smallest. So we have n is equal to 3. Or if you want to compare the largest ones, which one is the largest over here? Largest over here is n plus 2 and largest over here is 5. So n plus 2 is equal to 5. So n is again 3. So in any way you're getting n is equal to 3, and that is our answer. We have found out the value of n. Okay, now we have to prove something. We have to prove that this expression is equal to this expression. Okay, so we start with the left hand side. So in the left hand side we have 2n whole factorial divided by n factorial. Okay, so now let's first simplify the numerator. What is 2n factorial? 2n factorial is 2n times 2n minus 1 times 2n minus 2 all the way up to 1. Just like 10 factorial is 10 times 9 times 8 all the way up to 3 to 1. Similarly, 2n factorial will be 2n times 2n minus 1 less than that, because 10 factorial is 10 times 9 factorial, which is 10 minus 1. So we keep on subtracting 1, that's the logic. Then subtract 2 and all the way until we reach 3, 2 and then finally 1 whole divided by n factorial. We don't write down n factorial as n into n minus 1 into n minus 2. You will see shortly why I am not expanding this. So now observe these terms, 2n, 2n minus 1. So if you see, this 2n is an even number. Whatever the value of n is, irrespective of that, 2n is always even number, because whatever value of n you choose, say for example if you choose n is equal to 4, 2n is 8, which is even. Even if you choose n something odd like 5, then 2 times 5 is 10, it is still even. So in any way 2n will always be even. So what we do, we segregate the odd and the even numbers. So 2n is even, then odd, then even, then odd, and so on and so forth. So what we do, we write down even numbers together all the way up to 4 times 2. These are the collection of all the even numbers, and then we write down the odd numbers separately all the way up to 3 times 1, and then we leave n factorial again as it is. Now in each of these terms I can take 2 common, right? So if I take 2 from this term, I only have n left out, so I take 2 common and then leave n as it is. Again I take 2 common from these two terms, and what is left out is n minus 1. Again I take 2 common and it gives me n minus 2 all the way up to 2 times 2 and then 2 times 1. Alright, and then this I don't touch, I leave all the things as they are, whole divided by n factorial. Alright, now how many terms are there in all in the first bracket? So if you observe, it is like n minus 1, n minus 2 all the way up to 2, 1. So it is like n terms, right? If you start counting backwards, it's from 1, 2, 3 and so on and so forth up to n. So there are n terms, right? So as many n's are there, as many 2's are also there, because we have taken 2 from common from each term. So we are having 2 times 2 times 2 n times. So we write them separately. So we have 2 times 2 times 2 n times, and then whatever is left out, I keep them in separate brackets. Sorry, I missed out n over here. N minus 1, n minus 2 all the way up to 3, 2 and 1. And then again I don't touch this second bracket, times 3 times 1 whole divided by n factorial. Alright, let me erase the above portions. Now these 2 times 2 2 times 2 times 2, we are having it n times, so I can write it down as 2 to the power of n, and then n times n minus 1 times n minus 2 all the way up to 321 gives us n factorial. And then I don't touch this bracket again because it is already there on the right hand side. I know that I have already got it, so I don't mess with it. And then whole divided by n factorial. And this is why I didn't expand the n factorial in the denominator, because it was supposed to get cancelled out. So now what is left out is exactly what we need. And if you write it down in the reverse order, it means 1 times 3 times 5 all the way up to 2n minus 1, then you are done, which is the right hand side. Let's take up another question. We have to prove something something something. So let's start with the left hand side. Now we have to simplify it to get the right hand side. Okay, so what do? We first of all write this r factorial as r times r minus 1 factorial. So we keep this n factorial as it is. We write down r factorial as r times r minus 1 factorial, and we write down this. Okay, this is it for this term. Now we have to manipulate this term, so you don't touch this r minus 1 factorial. The reason why I'm doing this will be known to you shortly. And then I write this term as n minus r plus 1, and then n minus r factorial, 1 less factorial, just like 10 factorial is 10 times 9 factorial. Similarly, this factorial is this times this minus 1 factorial. Alright, now we can take the LCM. So the LCM will be r times r minus 1 factorial times n minus r plus 1 times n minus r factorial. Okay, so what do we have left in the first expression? Sorry, I missed out this n minus r factorial over here. So n minus r factorial, and okay, so now what we have got in the first expression, it is n factorial times n minus r plus 1, because all the 3 remaining terms are there only except for this term, and plus n factorial times we have r minus 1 factorial, and these 2 terms are here. We are left with just r. Alright, now let's simplify. So we take n factorial common. We have n minus r plus 1 plus r whole divided by, now we can again multiply this. R times r minus 1 factorial is r factorial, and n minus r plus 1 times n minus r factorial is again n minus r factorial. It's again steps backward. Alright, so now we have minus r and plus r getting cancelled. So we have n factorial times n plus 1 divided by r factorial by n minus r factorial. So n plus 1 times n factorial is n plus 1 factorial, because suppose this is 11 and this is 10 factorial, so 11 times 10 factorial is 11 factorial. In a similar way, n plus 1 times n factorial is n plus 1 factorial divided by r factorial n minus r factorial, and this is exactly the right hand side. Okay, now some numerical questions. There are 4 routes between Delhi and Patna. In how many different ways can a man go from Delhi to Patna and return if, for returning, any of the routes is taken? Okay, let's take up the first question first. So there are 4 routes between Delhi and Patna. Assume that this is Delhi and this is Patna. So there are 4 routes: 1, 2, 3 and 4. So a man goes from Delhi to Patna and then returns. So he goes from here to here and then back. So if for returning any of the route is taken, how many possible journeys he can make? So say for example, if I name these routes as route 1, route 2, route 3 and route 4, then he has 4 options to choose his upward journey. He can go from Delhi to Patna in 4 ways. And when this is done, remember I'm focusing on this done. Please make sure that you have seen the previous videos why I'm focusing on this. So when this is done, he can again take any route, because the question says he can take any route for his downward journey. So he again has 4 ways or 4 options to return. So in all he has 16 ways to plan his journey. So 16 is the answer for question number 1. Now for question number 2, if he has to take the same route that was taken for his upward journey. So for his upward journey, there was 4 ways in which he could go from Delhi to Patna, either by route 1, route 2, route 3 or route 4. But for his downward journey, he has to take the same path. So say for example, if he has taken the route 1 at the time of upward journey, then he has to take the same path, route 1, for his downward journey. So he has only one option left in that case. So that is why he has 4 ways in which he can plan the journey. And if you think intuitively, it's like going from route 1 and then returning back by the same route, or option 2 is taking the route 2 and returning by the same route, or option 3 taking the route 3 for upward journey and then returning the same way, and the 4th one is exactly the same. Now question number 3 says that he cannot take the same route. The same route is not taken. So if he can plan his upward journey in again 4 ways, he can take any route, then for the downward journey he can take all the other ways except for the way that he chose for the upward journey. So say for example, if he chose route number 1 for his upward journey, then he cannot take again route number 1. So if he has taken any of the 4 routes, then he has 3 routes remaining for the downward journey. So these are the 3 options left. He cannot take the same route, but he still has 3 routes remaining. So once he has done the upward journey, then he has 3 options. So in all, 12 is your answer. How many 9-digit numbers of different digits can be formed? How many 9-digit numbers? You have to form 9-digit numbers. Okay, so let's make 9 blanks over here. 6, 7, 8, 9. Now they have asked us to make a 9-digit number. In fact, how many 9-digit numbers can you make of different digits? That means no 2 digits can be repeated. So say for example, if you are using 2 over here, you cannot use 2 anywhere else. Alright, so think about this first place. How many options are there to fill up this first place? There are 9 possibilities. You can fill up numbers from 1 to 9, because you cannot put 0 over here, because if you put 0 over here, then the entire number becomes an 8-digit number. 0 is not valid. 0 cannot be included. Say for example, if you write 082, then it's actually 82. It's a 2-digit number. Alright, so that is why 0 is invalid. So in the first place, you can put any number from 1 to 9. So you have 9 options for doing this. When this is done, when you have put any one of the number, say for example, to just take an example, then what you are left with over here, how many numbers then you can fill in the second place? You can again have 9 possibilities, right? So excepting 2, you can have 0, 1, and then from 3 to 9. So in all, again there are 9 possibilities for you to choose. Alright, and again when this is done, then for the next place you have 8 choices, because you cannot put these 2 numbers. Then for the next place you have got 7 choices, then 6 choices, then 5, 4, 3, and then lastly 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Alright, you multiply these all and get your answer. I'm leaving this to you as an exercise. How many numbers are there between 100 and 1000 such that at least one of their digits is 7? Alright, so focus on the question. It says how many numbers between 100 and 1000. That means the number has to be essentially a number of 3 digits, because anything more than 100, 101, 102, it says between 100 and 1000. So 100 and 1000 are not included. Okay, so we have numbers starting from 101 all the way up to 999. So essentially all of these numbers are 3-digited. So we have to make 3-digit numbers, and it says that at least one of them has to be 7. Okay, so we make up several cases. In case 1, we assume that the units place is 7. So we fix up a 7 over here, and this can be done in exactly one way. Okay, so let me write down 7 over here. We have to fix 7. So this can be, okay, 7 we have fixed, and this can be done in one way. I'm sorry. Okay, so now for this place, how many numbers you are left with? You can fill this place with 10 numbers, right? Because it doesn't say that you cannot put 7 again. So you have 10 possibilities for this place. You can put any number from 0 to 10. It just says that at least one of the numbers has to be 7. Even if you have used 7 in the units place, you can still use it over here. So we have 10 options from 0 to 9. We have 10 possibilities, and for this first number we have 9 possibilities. Because we cannot put 0 over here, we can put any number from 1 to 9. So if we fix 7 in the units place, then we have 90 such numbers. Okay, case 2. In case 2, assume that we fix 10, we fix 7 in the tens place. So what we have now is this. We fix up 7 over here. Okay, now in a similar way, the units place can be filled up in 10 ways, because it can be filled with any number from 0 to 9, and this hundreds place can be filled up by any number from 1 to 9. So we have 9 possibilities over here. So again we have 90 numbers. Alright, and now for the last case, where we have 7 in the hundreds place. So this can be filled up in only one way. This can be filled in 10 ways, and this can also be filled in 10 ways, because now we have no restriction. So we have 100 options in all for case 3, where 7 is filled up in the hundreds place. So in all, how many numbers can you form? 100 plus 90 plus 90, which is 280. Okay, how many numbers are there between 100 and 1000 which have exactly one of their digits as 7? Now this question has got that trick that once you have used 7 in any of the places like units or tens or 100, then you cannot use 7 elsewhere. So again we'll proceed more or less in the similar fashion. So we have again 3 cases. In case 1, let's assume that we fix 7 in the units place. Now for the tens place, we have how many choices? We can choose any number from 0 to 9 except 7. So we have 9 options over here, and in here we have to choose any number from 1 to 9, of course we cannot choose 0, and also we cannot choose 7. So we have 8 possibilities over here. So for case 1 we have 72 choices. Alright, in a similar way, if I fix 7 in the tens place, then this can be filled in one way. This place can be filled up in 9 ways, because any number from 0 to 9 except 7. And this number can be filled up in 8 ways. The similar logic, exactly similar logic. Case 2 is again 72. Now case 3. Case 3 assumes 7 in the hundreds place. So this can be filled up in one way. This can be filled up in 9 ways, because any number from 0 to 9 except 7. And then this place can also be filled up in 9 ways, because we can fill up any number from 0 to 9 except 7. You can have other numbers repeated, right? So in case 3 we have 81. Alright, so adding them all, we have 5, 225. Okay, find the value of n such that np4 divided by n minus 1 p4 is equal to 5 by 3. Just for a recap, let me remind you that 5p3 was like starting with 5 and then 3 steps, going down 3 steps. So like you start with 5 and then go down 3 steps, 5, 4 and 3. Similarly, if I write down 15p4, that means starting with 15 and then writing down 4 steps. So minus 1, minus 1, minus 1 4 times. 15, 14, 13, 12. Alright, so you start with 15, you keep on subtracting 1, and then you write down 4 terms in total. That's the logic. So if you write 7p2, that means 7 times 6. You keep on subtracting 1 and then go as many steps as mentioned over here. Okay, so let me erase all of these things. Okay, now np4 is n times subtracted 1, subtracted 1 more, and subtracted 1 more, and they gives us 4 terms. So 1, 2, 3, 4 terms you have to write, and then divided by n minus 1, subtracted 1, subtracted 1 more, and subtracted 1 more, and again 4 terms, and this is equal to 5 by 3. Now there are many things that are going to cancel out: n minus 2, n minus 1, and n minus 3. So what we are left out with is n by n minus 4, which is equal to 5 by 3. You quickly cross multiply. 3n is equal to 5n minus 20, and solve for n. So 2n is equal to 20, n is equal to 10. That's it. Again, 15pr is equal to 2730. So we have to find out the value of r. So these are exactly two similar questions. I'll just do one and leave the other to you as an exercise. So we are given 15pr is equal to 2730. Now remember what I told you about the law. The law says that you start with 15 and keep on subtracting 1, and then you write down 4, 5, as many steps are as mentioned here. So we have to find out exactly how many steps we have to go. So what do? We have to actually find out how many steps we have to go till we get 2730. That's actually the question, what the question is asking. So what do? You keep on dividing this. So you first of all divide this with 15. So 2730 divided by 15 gives you what? 15 ones are 15. Remainder is 12, 123, 15, 937, 105. So the remainder is 13 minus 5, 18, then 180. Sorry, 15 7s are 105, 15 8s are 120, 30, 15 2s are 30. Alright, so we have 2730 as 15 times 182. Now you divide this with 14. Alright, so 182 divided by 14, because we have to write it in the form of 15 times 14 times 13. So we have to see how many steps we are getting. So 14 ones are 14, then 42, 14 3s are 42. So we can write this 182 as 14 times 13, and here we are done, right? So we have seen that 15pr is 15p3, 15pr is 15p3, because starting with 15 and then going down 3 steps. So r is definitely 3, and that's it. So in a similar way, you tried out the second question. That's an exercise for you. Okay, now similar question. So what do? We write down the question first. 2n plus 1 pn minus 1 divided by, we convert the ratio into a fraction, 2n minus 1 pn is equal to 3 by 5. Now there is one more way of expanding npr. Remember from the previous video, you can write npr as n factorial by n minus r factorial. So there are two ways of thinking about it. One is of course starting with n, keep on subtracting 1, and then write it down as r times, means r steps, and then npr is also equal to n factorial divided by n minus r factorial. For proofs, please visit the previous videos. Okay, so we use this formula now. So think of this as n and think of this as r. So npr is n factorial divided by n minus r factorial divided by, again apply the same formula, n factorial divided by n minus r factorial, which is equal to 3 by 5. Now let's simplify. So what we have is 2n plus 1 factorial divided by 2n minus n gives you n, and over here we had 2n plus 1, so plus 1 gives you plus 2 factorial. Now you can multiply with the reciprocal of this denominator, so we can write this thing over here in the denominator. So this 2n minus 1 factorial, and this thing in the numerator, so 2n minus n gives you n minus 1 factorial, and this is equal to 3 by 5. Now we have to simplify. So what do we do in simplifying? So we write 2n plus 1 factorial as 2n plus 1 times 2n times 2n minus 1 factorial. We apply this logic many a times, okay? So 2n plus 1 2n minus 1 factorial divide by the similar logic here, n plus 2 n plus 1 n and n minus 1 factorial, just to cancel these terms. That's the whole purpose. And this is equal to 3 by 5. So n minus 1 factorial and 2n minus 1 factorial cancels out. All we are left with is 2n times 2n plus 1 divided by n times n plus 1 times n plus 2 is equal to 3 by 5. We can also cancel out this n and n. So we multiply and write down the quadratic equation. So we have 4n plus 2 divided by n square plus 3n plus 2 is equal to 3 by 5. Now we have 20n plus 10 is equal to 3n square plus 9n plus 6. Now we have 3n square plus 9n minus 20n plus 6 minus 10 is equal to 0. We bring everything to the right hand side. So we have 3n square plus 9 minus 20 gives us minus 11n plus 6 minus 10 gives us minus 4 is equal to 0. And then we can factorize it as 3n square minus 12n plus n minus 4 is equal to 0. We take 3n common, n minus 4 plus n minus 4 is equal to 0. We take n minus 4 common again, and we have 3n plus 1 is equal to 0. We have two values of n. One is n is equal to 4 and another one as minus 1 by 3. Remember that n can never be negative, can even not be 0, and can never be fraction. The only possible values of n are natural numbers 1, 2, 3 and so on. N can never be non-negative. It has to be positive. Okay, so n is equal to 4 is the only option because this is negative as well as a fraction, so not at all accept it. Let's move on to the next question. 8 athletes are participating in a race. In how many ways can the first 3 prizes be won by them? Okay, so they're saying that there are 8 athletes in all. Assume that there are 8 athletes. This is the first athlete, second athletes, and so on and so forth up till 8 athletes, and there are 3 prizes. This is the prize 1, prize 2 and prize 3. Now they're asking in how many ways can the 3 prizes be won? How many such possibilities are there? How many such ways are there? Okay, so there are 2 ways of thinking about it. One way will of course will not lead you to the answer. So I'm just telling this to you so that you can understand what is the correct way and what is the incorrect way. So the incorrect way is thinking like, for example, this first athlete can have 1, 2 or 3 medals. He can have any number of medals. Similarly, this second athlete can also win any number of prizes. So there can be many possible cases that will be formed, and that's surely not the correct way to think. The correct way to think is think about the prizes and then distribute it to the athletes. So this prize 1 can go to 8 athletes in 8 ways. Okay, when this is done, this second prize can go to the remaining athletes in, so there are of course ambiguity. If you assume that one athlete can have more than one prize, then again there are 8 possibilities, otherwise there are 7 possibilities. So the question doesn't mention about anything like that. So let's assume, okay, let's make both the answers. Assume in the first case that one athlete can have more than one prizes, and the second case assume that one athlete cannot have more than one prizes. Okay, so the prize 1 can go to 8 athletes in 8 ways, and then the second prize for the first case, it can go to any of the 8 athletes again, because the athlete that got the first prize can also get the second prize now, can also get the second prize. Okay, but here he cannot. So there are only 7 possibilities. It cannot go to the same athlete. So it's 8 again over here and 6 over here, because the third prize cannot go to the first 2 athletes. So you find out the answers. I leave them to you. 3 men have 4 coats, 6 waistcoats, 5 caps. In how many ways can they wear them? Okay, so there are 3 men now. There's the first man, there's the second man, there's the third man, and there are 4 coats, 6 waistcoats, and 5 caps. Alright, so in how many ways they can wear them? Okay, so again let's think about the 2 methods. If you think about this man, he can have 1 coat. He can have 1 coat out of these 4 coats in 4 ways. When he has wore any one of the coats, he can wear 1 waistcoat out of these 6 waistcoats in 6 ways, and when this is done, he can wear 1 cap out of those 5 caps in 5 ways. And when he is ready for the second man, we are left with, he has 3 coats to choose from, and 5 waistcoats to choose from, and 4 caps to choose from. And then for this person, he has 2 coats to choose from, 4 waistcoats to choose from, and 3 caps to choose from. Of course, he cannot choose those same things which are already taken by the first persons. Okay, so the total answer is this multiplied by this multiplied by this. Okay, these are the total possible combinations in which they can wear these 4 coats, 6 waistcoats, and 5 caps. Next question. How many different signals can be given by using any number of flags from 4 flags of different colors? So assume you have 4 flags. This is the red flag, this is the green flag, this is the blue flag, and this is the orange flag. Okay, so how many signals can be formed? So assume that a signal is made up of some number of flags. So if you take the red flag, that's one signal. If you take red and green flag together, that's another signal. You can take any number of flags and any flag that will make up a signal. So how many signals you can make? So if you go case by case, if you take 1 flag at a time, then you have 4 signals, 1 for each of these. Then if you take 2 of them, like RG, GB, GO, RO, so this permutation you can do in 4p 2 ways, right? So you can take 2 flags out of these 4 flags and then arrange them in 4p 2 ways. Similarly, you can take 3 flags out of these 4 flags in 4p 3 ways, and then you can arrange 4 of these 4 flags in 4 factorial ways. So the total number of possible signals is 4, because 1 for each. So you take red flag and that's 1 signal, you take the green one and that's another signal, you take the blue one and that's another signal. Then 4p2 gives you 2 flags at a time. Say for example RG, GB, or BO, or RO, or GO. So 2 flags at a time. 4p3 gives you 3 flags at a time. That's the permutations of 3 flags out of 4 flags. And then 4p4 is just all the flags together, so you can arrange them in 4 factorial ways. Alright, so these many signals you can form. Okay, so you add these all and then find out the answer. A code is to consist of two distinct letters followed by two distinct numbers. Remember these words, distinct. Okay, so you cannot repeat the letters. So our code has to have 4 characters in it. The first 2 will be numbers from the English alphabet, and remember you cannot repeat them. So how many choices are there for this first place? So for the first place you have 26 options. You can take any letter from the English alphabet. For the next one you have 25 options, because once you have chosen any number, any letter from the English alphabet, then you cannot choose it for the next place. So we have 25 options over here. Alright, and then we have to choose numbers between 1 and 9. So I assume between 1 and 9 means 1 and 9 exclusive. So you have options from 2, 3 all the way up to 8. So how many options you are left with? You are left with 7 possibilities over here and 6 possibilities over here, because these two also have to be distinct. You cannot repeat them. So the total number of codes that you can make is 26 times 25 times 7 times 6, and that's it. So that gives us the answer for question number 1. How many such codes are there? Next, how many of them end with an even integer? Alright, so now for the second case, this won't change, only the second portion will change. Okay, so for the second case we need this place to be filled with an even integer. Out of 2, 3 to 8, how many even integers are there? 2, 4, 6 and 8. So there are 4 possibilities for filling up this place. And when this is done, when we have filled up this place with any of these 4 numbers, then for this place we have 7 minus 1, 6 options remaining. So this is the answer. 26 times 25 times 6 times 4 is the answer for the second case. Okay, so you find it out. Next question, find the number of ways in which 5 boys and 3 girls can be arranged in a row so that no 2 girls are together. So we have 5 boys and 3 girls, and we have to arrange them in such a way that girls should not be sitting together. So let's assume that we make the boys sit somewhat like this. Okay, so there are 5 boys and I have placed them somewhere. Okay, now the 2 girls cannot sit together. That means they have to take places in these spaces. They can only sit in these spaces. So how many spaces are there in all? So in all there are 1, 2, 3. So these are like the ends. They can sit over here. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 places, right? So the 3 girls can sit in these 6 places, anywhere in the 6 places, and they will not sit together. No 2 girls will be together in such a case. So the 5 boys can be arranged in 5 factorial ways, and the 6 places can be filled by these 3 girls in 6p3 ways. So our answer is 5 factorial is 120 and 6p3 is 6 times 5 times 4. So you simplify this and find out the answer. In how many ways can 7 examination papers be arranged so that the best and the worst papers are never together? Okay, so assume that you have 7 examination papers. This is paper 1, paper 2, all the way up to paper 7. So now the question asks you in how many ways you can arrange them. If there was no restriction, the answer was 7 factorial. Okay, but there are restrictions that the best and the worst papers cannot be together. Assume that some 2 papers, one of the paper is best and the other paper is worst. Assume that I name the second paper as the best paper. Assume that is the best paper, and somewhere in between we have the worst paper, so PW. So we want them to arrange in such a way that they are never together. Always remember that whenever you have to find out never together, always find out the total number of permutations, which in this case is 7 factorial, and find out in which cases they are always together. And then to find out never together, we have to just subtract total minus always together. So that's, remember, always whenever you have to find out in any question never together, always find out the total number of permutations and find out the number of cases in which they are always together and then subtract. Okay, So what do? We have total number of permutations to be 7 factorial, because in total they can be arranged in 7 factorial ways. Now we have to find out in how many of these cases they are always together. So what do? We kind of glue them up. So these are the two papers and you assume that they are glued together. So now we have 6 papers in all. So P1 up to P7, and then for these two papers assume that they are a single paper. Okay, so you kind of bind them together or put a stapler pen on it and make them together. Okay, so now we have 6 papers. Now you can arrange these 6 papers in 6 factorial ways, but for every such permutation, so assume in your mind you think that you have all the papers bundled up and then you are shuffling them. So you have in all 6 factorial permutations, but these two papers which are together can also shuffle between themselves in 2 factorial ways, right? So these two papers can be shuffled among themselves in 2 factorial ways. So the total number of permutations of such kind will be 6 factorial times 2 factorial. Alright, so this is the total number of permutations, and these are the number of permutations in which these two papers are always together. So the number of permutations in which they are never together is 7 factorial minus 6 factorial and 2 factorial. Alright, so you simplify and find out the answer. How many words, with or without meaning of course, can be formed from the letters of the word daughter? Okay, remember that all the questions that we are taking right now, all of them have distinct letters. So none of the questions that we have taken so far have repeated letters. Like if you observe, the letters are all single over here. There is nowhere you will find twice D, twice A, twice U. All of them are appearing just one time. So how many words with or without meaning can be formed from the letters of the word daughter so that all the vowels are together? So how many vowels are there? A, U, G, S, T, E, R, E, A, U, G, S, T. Okay, these 3 are the vowels, and the remaining D, G, H, T and R are consonants. So in all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 5 plus 3. So okay, so there are 3 vowels and 5 consonants, right? So the question asks us, in how many of these permutations all the vowels are together? So what do? We again glue these vowels together. So you consider them as a single letter. So this is one letter now, and there are 5 letters. So we have 6 letters in all. We have considered this entire vowels as a single set of letters, and these remaining 5 letters are as they are. So we have assumed 6 letters in all. So we can permute them in 6 factorial ways, but remember that these 3 vowels can also be arranged themselves in 3 factorial ways. For each of these possibilities, these vowels can rearrange among themselves. So there are 6 factorial times 3 factorial ways or permutations in which the vowels are always together. Now the second question asks us, all the vowels do not occur together. So I told you never occur together means total minus always together. We have already found out the always together part. So now just tell me, what is the total number of ways or permutations of arranging the letters of the word daughter? It's of course 8 factorial, because there are 8 letters, we can permute them in 8 factorial ways. So the total is 8 factorial. So never together is total minus always together. So it's total minus 6 factorial, 3 factorial, and you just find out the answer. That's it. Next question. The principal wants to arrange 5 students on a platform such that the boy Jayant occupies the second position and the girl Tanvi is always adjacent to the girl Aditi. Okay, there are 5 students in all, and out of those 5 students there are 3 particular students, Jayant, Tanvi and Aditi, and the principal wants to arrange these 3 students in a particular way. So assume there are 5 places, 3, 4 and 5. The principal wants to arrange in such a way that the Jayant always occupy the second position. So Jayant has to occupy this position only, and the girl Tanvi is always adjacent to girl Aditi. That means Wherever Tanvi and Aditi sit, they have to sit together. That's it. Okay, now how many such arrangements are possible? So Jayant's place is fixed. He can only sit in this particular place in one way. He cannot move from here. Next, Tanvi and Aditi, they have to sit together. So this first place is omitted. They cannot sit over here because Jayant is sitting over here. He won't let them sit together. Okay, so Tanvi and Aditi, either they can sit in these two places or in these two places. Alright, so if they sit in these two places, then they can arrange themselves in 2 factorial ways. Or if they sit in these two places, they can still arrange themselves in 2 factorial ways. So Tanvi and Aditi can sit in 2 factorial times 2, which is 4 ways. And then the remaining 2 students, because Tanvi, Jayant and Aditi are already seated, so the remaining 2 students can be arranged among themselves in 2 factorial ways. Okay, so the total number of permutations is 4 times 2 factorial, which is 4 times 2, which is equal to 8. So this is the answer. Okay, how many 4-letter words with or without meaning can be formed out of the letters of the word logarithms if repetition of letters is not allowed? Still in here, repetition is not allowed. Now the question asks us, how many 4-letter words can you make out of the letters of the word logarithm? So you have to make 4-letter words. Now tell me, you can fill in how many ways you can fill up this first place. There are, how many letters are there in the word logarithm? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this place can be filled up in 10 ways, and when this is done, the second place can be filled up in 9 ways, because you cannot take the same letter. So it says that repetition of letters is not allowed. That is why you cannot fill this letter with the same letter that you have chosen for here. And 10 times 9 times 8 times 7 is your answer. Find the number of arrangements of the letters of the word independence. In how many of these arrangements do the words start with P? Okay, so let's take the first question first. So you have to arrange the letters of the word independence. So remember that in the previous videos we have discussed, when there are similar objects, like there are some E's, repetition of E's, there repetition of N's, then you cannot just do in a general way. So if you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I guess there are 12 letters. 2, 4, 6, 8, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 and 12. There are 12 letters in the letters of the word independence. So you cannot have 12 factorial as your answer. So for arranging themselves, the answer is 12 factorial divided by how many E's are there. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 E's. Then we have 1, 2 and 3 N's. Then we have I and we have 1 I. Then we have 2 D's and we have 1 C. So is it total 12? 4, 3, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Which one is remaining? P is remaining. So independence has these many letters. Out of these, there are 4 E's, 3 N's and 2 D's. So the arrangement is 12 factorial by 4 factorial, 3 factorial and 2 factorial. If you haven't seen the previous videos, please do watch that. Unless and until you watch that, you won't be able to understand this. Okay. So this is the answer to the first question. This is the number of ways in which you can arrange the letters of the word independence and make new words. Now next question asks us, in how many of these arrangements do the words start with P? So what you do, you fix P at the first place, and then the remaining 11 letters you can arrange in 11 factorial divided by, but still there will be 4 E's, 3 N's and 2 D's. So that will be 4 factorial by 3 factorial, 2 factorial. So that's just the answer for question number 1. Question number 2, do all the vowels occur together? Okay, this can be tricky. So how many vowels are there? There are 4 E's and 1 I, and these are the only vowels. So what you do, you tie these vowels together. So 4 E's and 1 I, you tie them together and consider them as a single letter. So how many letters are there now? 12 minus 5 plus 1, because you are still considering them as a single letter. So 12 minus 5 vowels, and you are considering them as a single vowel. So 12 minus 5, 7. There are 8 letters in all now. Alright? Okay. So they can be arranged in 8 factorial divided by, now we have 3 N's and 2 D's. So 3 factorial by 2 factorial. But at the same time, these vowels can also be arranged among themselves in 5 factorial by 4 factorial ways, because there are 5 letters in all and 4 of them are E's. So these are the number of ways in which all the vowels are always together. Now for question number 3, remember, never together is total minus always together. So the total is this is the answer to question number 1, this is the total, and this is the answer to question number 2, always together. So answer from question number 1 and answer from question number 2 will give you never together. And lastly, do the vowels begin with I and end in P? So you fix I and P in initial and final positions respectively, and then you have 10 places in between. So you can arrange them in 10 factorial divided by 4 factorial, 3 factorial, 2 factorial, and that's it. Okay, find the number of words which can be made using all the letters of the word again. So how many words you can form from the letters of the word again? Again has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 letters, and out of these there are 2 A's. So the total number of permutations that you can make is 5 factorial by 2 factorial. So that's the answer to question number 1. For question number 2, if these words are arranged or written in a dictionary, what will be the 50th word? Okay, this question is somewhat interesting. So it's asking that if you write down all these permutations in the form of a dictionary, that means the first word will be A, G, I, N. This will be the first word. Then the second word will be A, I, G, N, and then you keep on arranging all these permutations as in a dictionary. Then what will be the 50th word? Okay, so let's fix A in the first position. Then how many words are there which start with A? So now we have A, G, I and N to be arranged in these 4 places, and this can be done in 4 factorial ways. So there are in all 24 words which start with A. Okay, done. Now let's think about this. How many words are there that start from G? So 1, 2, 3, 4 letters remaining, and then we have to arrange A, I, N, and we have to arrange these 4 letters in these 4 places. So this can be done in 4 factorial by 2 factorial ways, because there are 4 letters in all and 2 A's are repeated. So what is it? So it is 12. So there are 12 words that start with G. Then come to I. Again it will give you 12 words that start with I. So what is the count now? 24 plus 12 plus 12. So we have in all 48 words as of now. So now come to the letter N. Okay, so now what will be the 49th? This will be the 49th word, right? So the 49th word will be N, A, G and I. This will be the 49th word. And then the 50th word will be N, A, I, G. This is the 50th word. This is our answer. So this is how you take less time, because you don't have to write down all the permutations. You just remove all these that start with A and then remove all those that start with G, and this is how you keep on counting. That's fast, right? That's it. That's all for now. So I hope that you have got a lot of practice. I had to rush a bit because I've already covered 2 videos that covered in depth, and I wanted it to be as fast and just take lots and lots of examples. So thanks a lot. Stay tuned with A-Level Maths.